So welcome everyone. And I want to just compliment the singing that was done by Marion Green with the Agape International Choir, Sing Through My Heart, because that song is a wonderful example to the lesson that we have for today. The title of our topic for today is How God Works Through Us. And one of the ways that many in our community know is that God works through our singing. And what happens when we're singing? It has been stated by many musicians from a long time back to even today, the present day, that when you sing, you are praying twice. But let's just really get into the lesson a bit more before I get into some of the examples of how God works through us. Once again, the topic is, how does God work through us? I think the first and most important thing for us to recognize here is that, who are we? We are wonderful spiritual beings, created in the image and the likeness of God. God is spirit, and whatever God's nature is, that is the nature that you and I have as spiritual beings. And that spiritual nature and that spiritual structure of us upholds that human physical existence of our being. So that's who we are. Now, who is God? Oh my goodness, the divine intelligence of the universe. So what we're talking about here is, how does this thing of mine actually work? Because if God is the infinite intelligence, then intelligence flows through the mind, does it not? Flows through the mind. The mind, our mental atmosphere. Everything that happens, it happens through this mind. But the question is, where is the mind? Oh, that's the big question that is being explored, discovered, experimented with, not only in the church arena, but also in the scientific community and in the secular environment as a whole. Does that? People want to know, where is the mind? For a long time, we thought the brain is where the mind was. Not thinking about, oh my goodness, the pain that I'm having is in my back, or it's in my leg, it's in my finger, it's in my toe. Well, the toe is not in the physical brain up here, right? Not there. But the pain is. So we have begun to say, oh my goodness, so there is a brain or some kind of mind function going on in the physical body. But we want to get that stuff going on in the head. Then there's another school of thought that, oh my goodness, biology tells us that the heart developed before the physical brain, and that heart was functioning, it was beating, and the cells in the heart have been found to be some similar cells the same cells that we find in the brain. So is the brain in the heart? That's one we have to continue to ponder. But we can look at the Heart Math Institute to get some science behind that thought. And then, of course, there is moving the energy totally into this head space, such that the energetic is in the head space, and there we say, that's where our brain is. But let's look at it from science of mind point of view. What did Dr. Holmes say? Dr. Holmes said there's only one mind. That is the mind of God. That is the mind that you and I are using it. It's the only mind there is. There is only one mind, not two. There's not the divine mind and the human mind. There's only one mind, and we use it. And what we understand about our mind is that we have the conscious as well as the subconscious mind. In other words, we have an inner life and we also have an outer life. But we find that because of our thinking capability, our cognitive ability, our inner life is what dictates what you see on the outside. So, whatever your outside life looks like, that is a result of the inward thinking. Oh, be still my heart. What's going on in my heart? Am I grieving? Am I depressed? Am I happy? Am I filled with joy? Am I filled with joy and loving kindness? What are the feelings that I'm having? Because it's the feelings that we experience that shows what's on the outward expression. You can look at many people and you can see on their faces and the way they're interacting with their body and letting the body talk, whether or not they're filled with joy or something else. So how does God work through that? One mind. One mind. One mind. So what we know is that the mind is the seat of consciousness. Another word for consciousness, the mind is the seat of awareness. And that mind is continuing to expand. And it expands. For many of it's expanding continually. For all of us, it's expanding continually. My example is, look at a newborn baby. When that baby comes here, it has a level of awareness that Mom is here and I get nourishment from Mom. But as that baby grows and food is being introduced to that baby beyond from its mother, it's food that comes from the plants and vegetables, and it receives that food through a spoon, the awareness expands. And as that child continues to grow, newer things are coming up. The child learns to sing. It learns its alphabets. It learns how to begin to deal with more complex situations in its life. They're simple, complex situations, but what it shows us is that there is a continuing growing of awareness, a continuing growing of consciousness. So the brain, our mind, plays a very incredible role in our life. I love the slogan of the UNCF, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I love the UNCF because during my time of going to school, they were very instrumental in providing scholarship funds for students of color to attend college and to create a better life. I want to share with you a reading from Dr. Howard Thurman. When we're asking the question, how does God work through us? We're not really trying to contact something outside of ourselves, because what we recognize is that we're moving in a direction that is an inward journey. It's a journey to see how we can set our human ego aside to consciously align with the already existing source of perfection and wholeness. So, listen to this. If thou standeth beside me is the essay that I want to share with you. Dr. Thurman says, there are times when the sense of aloneness is very acute. Often these are times of struggle where the odds are uneven. Curious indeed is it that the sense of not being alone is apt to be more accurately felt when the concentration upon the matter at hand is absorbing. This means that there is available at the moment no margin of me exposed to the presence of God. To be aware that God is standing beside me calls from some measure of detachment from my own personal struggle and the turmoil. If thou standest beside me, it is entirely possible that the presence of God may be more accurately felt in and through the struggle and the turmoil. It is not something apart from my involvements, but a quality of presence that emerges from the midst of my tempests or my storms. Or more accurately, it becomes a quality of the tempest itself. Sometimes this identification may be very confusing, causing me to say that God brings the struggle. If it is sufficient for me to know that He is found in the midst of all that befalls me, then first, He is felt as being within and among the struggling elements of my experience. Then out of the midst of these, His presence emerges and becomes one who stands by me, by my side. It is then that I am lifted up and strengthened. So if thou standest beside me, nothing can prevail against me. What I like about this reading is that it finds us right in the place where we live on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. Our life is filled with struggle and little tempests, little storms, basically challenges all the time. Some days are really free of a whole lot of challenge, but the next day something may crop up that poses a challenge. But we learn how to get through it. When we recognize our oneness with Spirit, we recognize that God is always right where we are. But it doesn't feel like it, says Dr. Thurman. I'm in this battle, I'm in this storm, I'm in this struggle, and because the energy of what that thing is like for me right now, I don't feel the presence of God around me. But I'm just so caught up in my feelings and my thoughts of what's going on that I can't seem to know or remember God is right here. Right here. I am not recognizing that God is standing right there for me to recognize, to remember that His word, that word says, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I am with you always. That means, says David in the Psalms, if I ascend to the very pits of hell, thou art there. If I ascend to the high heavens, thou art there. The presence of God is there. So how does God work through us? It's through our awareness. It's through our consciousness. It's through our knowing. So how do we train ourselves to get to that place of knowing that truth, that reality? This is what I like about the science of mind. There's love in law, meaning God loves us so much. I give you a set of principles for you to look toward and see how those are operating in your life. So the principles says, I'm surrounded by a creative intelligence that receives the direct impress of my thought and it acts upon me. Oh, my thoughts of feeling, oh Lord, woe is me, come to fruition because I placed that energy. I planted that seed, and that seed is manifesting out from me. Out from me. Did not Dr. Holmes teach us that we are spiritual broadcasting stations? He did not say you only broadcast the good things. He did not say you only broadcast the mediocre things. He did not say we only broadcast what we imagine and hope for the future. He said all things. So if you've got those feelings of depression and woe is me, you broadcast that out. There are scientific studies that show that the energetic field that we have around us, that people are able to step into and feel, is about 10 feet out from us. 10 feet from where I'm standing to where you're standing. 10 feet. People can feel your energy. Like, whoa, people can feel your thought. Oh, wow. It's that aura. You got stuff in there. So how does God work through us? Through that mind. Through our spiritual and intuitive nature. God communicates through us, with us through that spiritual and intuitive nature. And some of us will say the Christ nature, because God says, I will plant my heart within you. I will plant myself within you, and you will be mine and I will be yours. We're together. We are one. So there's a principle that goes along with all of this that I'm really content. And I want to share the reading, a quote from Dr. Holmes that I found in Love and Law. He says, I want you to think of yourself as this mind. Don't think of this mind as being in you. Rather, think of yourself as the center of this mind. Of course, this mind flows through you, but think of yourself as the center of it. Now get this. This is your principle. You think, and this mind produces it. You think, I'm depressed, the mind produces it. You think, I'm in gratitude, the mind produces it. You think, I am, oh, woe is me, the mind produces it. But if you think, I am in joy to high heaven, your mind produces it. You know, I love that saying because I have experienced in my own life, there have been times when I have just bust out laughing. I'm just really, really happy on that day. I'm happy on that time. I'm happy about something, and I know it's that joy within me. And generally, what can happen is that I will continue to think, why am I so happy? What am I laughing about? And I will find a demonstration of a prayer that I have placed in mind. A prayer. So when we practice using the mind through our spiritual practice of prayer, meditation, spiritual mind treatment, journaling, whatever spiritual practice you have, during those moments, you are in unity with the infinite spirit of life. It is you. It's like game on, one-on-one with God. And yes, there are times when we sit with others and we are doing our spiritual practice. I love the spiritual practice of singing. I love getting together with a group where we just sing, and we feel the divine presence of spirit right there in the room. So we we are praying twice here because we're singing, we're letting out this melody of thanks and praise, and yet we are saying words of prayer in the song that is being sang. So how does God work through us?
Singing with music.
Singing, yes, absolutely. So, this is one of the things that is so important for us to really realize when we align ourselves with spirit, when we align ourselves with that love, when we align ourselves with the spiritual law, we are in alignment such that, yes, the mind of God is working through us. The mind of God is supporting us. How can we be the recipient of that divine good? If you go back and look at one of Dr. Holmes's writings, Can We Talk to God? He lets us know that there are a couple of things, maybe 3, that we need to be aware of when we do our spiritual mind treatment. We need to be receptive to the divine. We need to expect that our prayer will be answered, that the word we have planted into mind will grow, will do what it's supposed to do, and we have to accept that it is done. Such that when we do our prayer work, it is done in the very present moment right now. And once we're finished with the praying, and once we're having that sense of knowing this is already accomplished, I don't have to wrestle with this thing anymore, we go on about our business. Now I know some will say, oh my goodness, I need to continue with this. But here is something that I want to bring once again to your mind. There is a principle, and it's called divine guidance. And the principle says when you ask for guidance, guidance is given. Listen to what Dr. Holmes says from Science of Mind 365. If we will take our personal problem to a high place in our consciousness, it will appear as the answer to it takes place. This is the way a problem is solved. We should know that there is nothing in us that we can keep from this happening. There is no thought of doubt or limitation. We should feel that the answer is established in our consciousness and will make itself known to our mind right now in our present experience. This is done only as we let go of the problem as a problem and then definitely accept and expect its answer. Now listen to this part, because fireworks went off in me when I first read this some time ago. Since the whole secret of divine guidance lies in the ability to accept it, today I affirm that I do accept it. I do believe that the Spirit goes before me and prepares the way. I do know that every thought and act is governed and guided by a superior intelligence. That's the divine mind of God. There is something in me that knows what to do. It not only knows what to do, it impels me to act upon it, what it knows. It impels me to act upon it, what it knows. This very acceptance moves forth into action through me. Always there is an inner quiet, persistent confidence, a non-resistance, but complete acceptance. And there is an inward, slowly stream of life, knowing that it carries me safely and surely to my destination and to the acknowledgement and the accomplishment of every good purpose. This is divine guidance, and I surrender to it. And Dr. Holmes pulled out a beautiful Bible scripture from Isaiah 58:11. It says, "And the Lord shall guide thee continually." So how does God work through us? God works through us as we turn to God. God turns to us. Even though God is fully present right where we are, the divine presence is right where we are all the time. But we're the one that have to say, "Good morning, love." We're the ones who say, "How are you, God?" We're the ones who say, "Thank you, God." This is the goodness. In some denominations, the choirs really get involved in a worship service. And the worship service is basically giving thanks and praise to God. What are we giving thanks and praise to God for? This life. for knowing that everything that we need is already provided for us. Everything. As stated earlier, we're the ones who must recognize that we are a center of divine operation, that we can speak our word, we can plant a seed in the fertile garden of our mind to receive that which we want. Now, part of what this lesson is about is also letting go of our ego in terms of what we think we want. Letting go of that and being open and receptive to what it is that is our purpose in life to do and to be fulfilled. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes we are part of cliques and groups, and the clique and the group have a desire to go to the left, but your purpose in life sends you to the right. And yet there you are, trying to make yourself force fit into that mold that's going to the left. And things are not going so well for you. Our life should be able for us to freely, easily move about to do the things that are the works of our hands. We shouldn't have to struggle. And I know in some instances, yeah, there may appear to be struggle because there are steps and things we have to do to get from point A to Z. It means that if you have to take those incremental steps, it may appear to be a struggle to you, but those are necessary steps. And we are allowing ourselves to grow and to continue to grow in awareness and to evolve so that growth and evolution is happening for us. So as we learn more and more about how God works through us, then we align ourselves in such a way that we can easily begin to use those two little words that say, I surrender to the higher mind, to the higher knowing, or I surrender to God's will. Someone would say, oh, but what is God's will? Well, if you have to have some kind of definition, you can look at one such definition in the book of James in the New Testament, which says, it is the will of God that we all prosper, be in health, as the soul prospers. So what does the prospering of your soul looks like? I invite you to look in terms of what is my purpose in life? What is it that I'm being called to do? Because that purpose in life nourishes and calls my soul to come forth to do that which it is here to do that which it has been called forth to do. And the soul grows through that. The soul nourishes you and moves you into a greater awareness. How does God work through us? Through its direct contact with us, through our spiritual and intuitive nature. And this is what I really want to leave with you today. Please know that there isn't a time when we're not in the very presence of God. Dr. Holmes said also, we are surrounded by a psychic life, a subjective, creative, conscious, receptive, neutral, and plastic force, which receives the impress of our thought always and has no alternative. Our principle, restated, says we're surrounded by our creative intelligence that receives the direct impress of our thought and it acts upon it. And what it's active upon is that specific principle, and there are no two ways about it. There's only one way. One way. So with that, I just want you to know that I share with you from the Science of Mind literature how God works in us, spirit to spirit. It is also found in the New Testament, attributed to the teachings of Jesus, that when we come into the presence of spirit, we do so in spirit. We leave out our human conditions. Spirit to spirit, always no good. There is nothing against that which is a spirit. So with that, let's just go again.